The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed. I may sound a little tired, but I am Ken Napzok.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm also tired, but excited to be here and tired with everybody.
And I'm Jennifer Landa, and I too am tired, but I am happy to be here.
It is. This is our ForceCenter news show. A look at all the breaking news from a long time ago in a galaxy very near Anaheim. We're going to look back at Star Wars Celebration, some of the big stories, and we'll talk about some of the other individual episodes we're going to do this week. Before we get to it, and we have a lot to get to and a lot to catch up on, we always want to remind you today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. A little bit later, we'll have our ForceCenter recommends an audiobook we think you should try out on us. But let's get to Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022. A wonderful, large, multi-day endurance test. And we survived. So Joseph is here. Jennifer's here. I'm here. Jennifer, we got to start with you. How was your celebration? You were so busy working that we tried to all catch up for a bite to eat. It just didn't work out, so it's a mystery. How was your celebration?
I know I had wanted to meet up. I had even suggested to meet up, and then I canceled. It was terrible. I felt terrible.
Yes, that's what Joseph and I thought. Terrible.
Terrible. Yeah, it was really just a wonderful tornado of an experience. One of the things that I noticed about this celebration is that people not only had worked on their cosplays for years because they had had time, right, with COVID and everything, was that everyone was just so happy to be back together again. I kept hearing that, oh, I got to see my friend. It's been great to be around my buddies again. We haven't seen each other since the last celebration. There just was so much excitement and enthusiasm and positivity. And that was it really felt like an extra special celebration this year.
Yeah, that is absolutely a good way to describe it. Extra special, more about the community. Yes, the news and all that kind of stuff that we're here to talk about today, but that kind of was it. Joseph, you and I, as you excellently joked at one point, you and I became a we this weekend, traveling together. Hotel. We did have a separate hotel rooms, which is great because I could just put my socks anywhere on the floor, not feel I'm impinging on anyone. But so I think I know how your celebration went, Joseph, but let the ForceCenter
It was great. It was a great balance of lots of things. There was that sort of just convention overwhelm where there are too many things to do. I think there is such great demand for all the fun things to do. There's a lot of you go on the app or on Twitter and, there'll be a new thing. Come check it out. And then it's all excited and like, do you want to buy this? And I'm like, yeah. And like, well, sign up at 9 a.m. for a digital thing, to line up for a physical thing, to be in the standby. So there was that this great tension of like, everywhere there was something I wanted.
Yeah.
There was news to hear about. There was merch to buy. There were people that I wanted to hang out with. There were cosplayers that there's some that like I desperately want a photo of that cosplay, but I can see in their walk and in their eyes that person needs a taco and I should leave them alone now. So it's this great balance of like an abundance of joy, like too much joy in a way, not too much, but joy to the point where you have to choose. And that was a really fun way. Like it is a celebration. It was like a party where there were too many things to do, too many people to see. And I just choosing to be joyful for all the things that I did get to see and do, including watching Kenobi in the hotel room, spending a lot of time on the floor. For me, just that childlike joy of there are a bunch of action figures all in one room is one of my very, very favorite parts of Celebration. And the listeners to ForceCenter and people who know us from other things, coming up to us to tell us we had a lot of people who said nice things about the podcast, but the thing that was extra joyful for me is people telling us like what episode they started listening on, or when they started listening, or what episode landed with them or helped them think through something in their life. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, hearing those things from listeners is maybe one of my favorite things of the whole celebration.
Absolutely. I want to come back to that here, but Jen, I want to go back to you too here. I know we can't really talk about some of the cool things you were doing, but you had not gone to Chicago, working on another project back then.
Yeah, right.
How was it to get back and outside of the work, just the people, the vibe, and any specific memories you have about people chatting with you?
Oh my gosh, it felt. Oh, it just reminded me why I love the Star Wars community so much. Everyone is nice. You can chat with anyone. Everyone's so friendly. Like I said, getting to chat with some of the cosplayers and learning about their process was just thrilling. And some of you all who listened to the show said hello to me. And it honestly, it really touched me. Thank you so much for your kind words. You know, we're here, we're chatting, and I don't ever really see anybody outside of taking my daughters to school. And so it's just oh, it just really, it keeps me going, knowing how much you all enjoy listening to our show. It really was heartwarming. And that was a wonderful reminder for me, is that I'm always online doing things, but we are real people, and you can have these fun interactions in person. And I haven't been social for a long time, so I felt a little awkward at times because I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't been around this many people in years, right? But it's wonderful, and I'm so happy that we're back. We're back to that.
Back to that, indeed. Yeah. And I want to echo what Joseph was saying too. I mean, we're fortunate enough to all of us be in a line of work that occasionally puts us in front of people who are familiar with us or something like that. And so it's always fun, and it's been fun in the past. And I don't want to diminish anyone coming up to us in any other convention, but like Joseph said, there was some kind of specific about this one, about what's gone on since 2019 and quite frankly, since 2017. And just to hear from some folks that have been, absolutely, they're part of the community, and they said a lot of nice things about what we help them with, not just Star Wars, but just a place for a good community, place for positive deep dives into all of it, and all that stuff that we always talk about here. But it was particularly great to have some wonderful interactions with folks. And Jonas Berger now coming up from Sweden, meeting him finally in person and getting him to kind of he got to experience Star Wars Celebration and shares what the show means to us. Joseph and I ran into Eric Ramsher, right? We were joking about his last name, Joseph, right?
Yeah, no, he was super friendly. He was with his son, and in particular, I have always assumed, because his name is spelled with an EUR, that it was French. So I've always tortured myself by saying, when he sends in a question, Eric Ramseur, he was like, he's like, I love it, but it's Ramsher.
Yeah, and it was his son's 14th birthday weekend, and he let us hold his Mace Windu lightsaber and just to share, with us. It was over and over and over, and it wasn't just about these are ForceCenter fans. It was truly this community is only as good as those listening make it. We're just here on this small part of it, and I think time and time again we were able to really see the faces of folks that are make this ForceCenter community what it is. So that was my big fun memory.
Yeah. I think so many great things that listeners said, but I think just to echo what you said, Ken, I think the theme that so many of them said, hey, the positivity does make a difference. And with a real knowledge that we're in this space where, doing something nasty or challenging in putting that in your headline will get more clicks, right? That we're in, everybody was so cognizant of the fact that we're in a Yoda on Luke's back moment of the dark side is quicker, easier, more seductive. And people really seeing your podcast is making an effort to invest in the light side, and people saying it's worth it, it's working. And everybody coming up, not everybody, several people coming up with that thesis statement of this is why we want to compliment you. It made it feel like a celebration of Star Wars and the ideals in Star Wars.
Yeah, the ideals indeed. And we talked, had a great time on Alex and Molly's Star Wars Explained podcast at the podcast stage. Thanks for those who came out Thursday. Packed house, a lot of fun. obviously Alex and Molly, the big draw there, but it was great to meet a lot of fans there too. But yeah, we get to talk about that. I think it was Tyler in the crowd asked a great question about podcast and podcast economy and communities and buildings. So that was the theme running through. And also a lot of fun stuff, and Jennifer, you were working so hard. Joseph and I, we had an interesting Thursday morning, a comedy of errors, like a sitcom, to try to get into the big showcase panel, and then failing to get in, quite frankly. The last two, or I think it was someone in front of us and then us in the standby line, and then they came and cut it off. One of those kind of comedy errors. But to be able to just realize we are here for more than this. We're more here for more than the access and the news. We're here for just the experience, and that our minds and broken souls were turned around by the time we sat on Alex and Molly's podcast stage. And we want to thank all of you for making that happen. Your great vibes. So that was awesome.
Yeah, a great exercise in letting go and choosing the light, and we were rewarded with a great weekend with lots of cool Star Wars experiences.
Mm-hmm. It was indeed. And we do want to, before we get into the news proper, and both of you jump in if there's anything else you want to talk about Celebration after this, but I want to set a little bit of programming, doing the big news wrap up today, but we are going to, Joseph and I, going to dive into Andor and the Bad Batch trailers later this week. We thought about doing more recording down there than we did, but you get caught up in the fun, and do you want to run back to your hotel room and do your breakdown there, or do you want to celebrate Star Wars and get back? So we're going to look a little deeper at those wonderful trailers. We're going to talk about them a little bit today, especially want to get Jennifer's thoughts. So that, and then the Kenobi report, the Obi-Wan Kenobi report will be back, and that'll be midday to late afternoon, Wednesday, depending on your time zone. And we'll get back into a normal recording schedule as our feet go from sore, bruised feet to normal feet again. We'll get back into it. There you go. So any final thoughts, Jennifer? I definitely don't want to cut off any of your adventures. If there was anything we still want to talk about with you there.
No. I just, I can't wait to share more of what I was doing later this week. And next week, maybe we can share a few highlights from that. Okay. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. That's all. Got to be fun. Well, let's try to jump into the news. There's so much as expected. And we can also talk about, an omission in a way. I don't necessarily think it's a omission in saying that in a snarky negative way, but not a lot about the film side, but that was kind of expected going in. So I think we're going to start here with the Mando Plus panel, which we're jumping to Saturday, and then we'll jump back to Thursday. We're going to jump around a bit. But this was fun. Joseph and I were fortunate enough to experience this one with the wonderful Ash Crossan moderating this panel. It was a lot of fun, but some cool things came out of that, including some things we want to focus on that weren't necessarily the headlines of this panel. So any panel highlights for us, Joseph? Definitely we'll start with you here. Got to sit next to you on this one here, but anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, no, there are a couple just really fun details of it's fun to be in the room when something interesting or funny happens or charming with the cast, because so much of these panels are building up to, a trailer that we got to play, or maybe a news reveal. But a lot of it is, so well led by Ash Crossan, just like the charm of the actors. For example, Temuera Morrison coming out to the Boba Fett theme and apparently spontaneously just doing a very incredible dance that left him truly breathless by the time he got. He's been charming all weekend. He was amazing on the Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary panel, which was really special to go to. Since I've loved that movie for 20 years, and I have had a hard time finding other people who love it as much as me. So to be in a room full of thousands of people who love it. Anyway, to get back to the Mando Plus panel, I was just really charmed by Tim all weekend, where he's like, it felt like he's heard, yeah, I understand Anthony Daniels is really good at just grabbing the spotlight at these things. We'll see about that, Anthony Daniels. I'm going to one-up you. The chopper droid rolling out in real life with its actual wobbly head, making it look like a little tipsy, like it was going to fall off the stage, which is perfect chopper. So those are fun details that jumped to my mind. And then I thought what was really interesting about the panel is, without giving it a lot of fanfare, there were a lot of details that were really about the process and the behind the scenes and the spirit. in particular that Favreau started by saying, like, we wanted to start with an intimate story of this one person and this connection he makes with a child, and we always meant for it to explode out into this wider galaxy that would introduce new characters and connect him with big characters of legacy. So Favreau just kind of saying from the get-go, that was always our intent. Start intimate and go big.
Right.
Was big. The acknowledgement of Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder and celebrating them as here's the three main people who are the Mandalorian. Highlighting the addition of Rick Famuyiwa as an executive producer. Filoni very gently addressing the casting of animated characters in live action, and without really going, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to tell you why we didn't cast the voice actors." He didn't say that, but he was very gently addressing that spirit. So I thought it wasn't like any sort of defensive pushback on any controversies, but it was this very gentle, kind exploration of who is being included and why.
Echoing that as well. And the Tales of Jedi panel, which we didn't attend as well because we were at the ForceCenter meetup, he seemed to address like the other side of it of, I haven't forsaken animation. I haven't forsaken those people in animation. So that was kind of a running theme with him there. And I'm with you too. There was the highlight of the Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder thing really actually kind of moved me in a way. I was maybe unreasonably grumpy around 2019 where I was like, there's other people in there. Why are they acting like Pedro Pascal's the only one? I, for some reason, found myself a little more fascinated with that than maybe I should have been. Because it was more than just stunt performers. It was people putting together this character. And I just really love that here we are a couple years later in the next celebration going, hey, this is definitely a three-headed din. And all these fine creative people come together to put it to make it so memorable. So that was a big highlight for me too.
Yeah, it was an absolute sort of setting aside of ego or like trying to, hide the magic, and control the narrative that Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian. And like, obviously in the behind the scenes things they've released, we've met Brendan Wayne, Lateef Crowder, and we've seen them, but to bring them out on this stage and for Pedro Pascal to be like, we're all the Mandalorian it's this great, wonderful Star Wars spirit. And then they had brought out an animated Grogu and, been people are like, hey, Pedro, and he's like, no, all three of us. And Dave Filoni made this joke of like, yeah, bring over my three space dads. There's this real sense of not just acknowledgement but celebration that they've all contributed to making this character we love.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jen, I'll get your thoughts here. There's another big thing I want to discuss too that before I forget, I forgot to put in my notes of what I was particularly moved in. But anything, I know you probably were watching from afar at this point, but anything that you enjoyed particularly?
Yeah, I mean, this is a panel that I'm sad that I missed on the was it live streamed? I'm not sure.
Most of the big ones weren't, which was part of our Thursday grumpiness, but that's
right.
another.
Yeah, so I only read about some of the highlights. I obviously saw a few clips. I saw some photos of the great Ash hosting this incredible panel. And I think what really has struck me in general, because I did see Rosario Dawson and Natasha Liu Bordizzo speaking on the celebration stage with Andy Gutierrez. And what really has struck me is that the Mandoverse, so to speak, is Dave and John have so much love for Star Wars. They have so much love for the fans. I think it was Rosario Dawson said that every day they talk about the fans. This is what the fans want. We need to think about the fans. Like it's not just that they're like, oh, we need to cater to them. It's because they're fans themselves. And as a result, that translates to the rest of their cast. There is a real love and also like respect, I guess, that there seems to be happening between these creators and the stars and the fans, which is, in my opinion, kind of unusual. You don't get that in every fandom. But I think it will obviously translate into the work as well, just seeing their excitement and their passion and just how inclusive they are and bringing the physical stunt performers along, I think is so important. And again, it's not something that you see. Oftentimes actors are like, no, I did all my stunts. And then the stunt performer is back there like, well, I did most of it, so that was very special. I have nothing but just true admiration for these creators and actors and performers.
Yeah, and Dave Filoni himself, I heard it on the Tales of the Jedi panel. He made sure, and I think maybe the Bad Batch just made sure people saw and heard the names of like Athena Portillo and Jennifer Corbett and Carrie Beck, the people, in this case specifically the women behind a lot of these big shows, and I think along with the stunt performers coming out, there was a little bit of a good good-hearted mission behind that of just like these are all the names and I respect that. We always make jokes about the man in the cowboy hat, and he's the anointed one by a lot of people, and which we totally get, and we actually understand and respect that passion. But I like that he himself it makes efforts to be like, I'm not the only one, not the only one, and that's always good. In fact, he and the Thursday showcase, him doing the kind of pulling Kathy back and talking about how she's the best producer he's ever worked for, and this all happens because of her. That stuff was seen, by and heard. And one thing I want to talk about here, too, where Joseph and I were sitting, very fortunate again to get in and be down in the media area. There was a lot of great, media coverage, people covering it around us. Obviously, the media coverage is strong, but the people around us, it certainly don't want to sign age groups, but it's generally younger, generally, females, and they love the Mando. They were excited. When the Rebel stuff emerged, the Ahsoka stuff, everything, we'll talk a little more specifically. The passion that erupted around that, it just blew me away. Not surprised, but just to see it in front of me of what Rebels has done for Star Wars. And those characters, Sabine and Hera, Ahsoka coming back and all that stuff. It is, we already knew about it. We already kind of had a healthy understanding and appreciation of it. But to be around a section that just was like, love Mando, Rebels is my life. That really kind of moved me in a way. I love that. We love entry points here in Star Wars. And I know, Joseph, you probably felt that energy too. We were surrounded by that.
Absolutely. I think there's a bunch of great things in that brief Ahsoka footage that we will definitely talk about, but it felt like this was a moment of Filoni entirely understanding the fan base and understanding that hints had been laid in the storytelling, rumors and things have been burbling of like, is this, the Ahsoka and Sabine search for Ezra story, and are other Rebels characters showing up? And it felt like almost this entire Ahsoka presentation was like, here is hardcore confirmation. Yes, this is Ahsoka and the Rebels of the television show Rebels. And that did feel like just so welcomed. It reminded me like this, the much shortened version of what people who grew up with the original trilogy went through when like those Force Awakens trailers came out with like the Chewie I'm home vibe, or, it's true, all of it that we've talked about on the podcast so much, or the power of those things, where it felt like those trailers and those moments were constructed to say, you've been longing for and wondering if the, original trilogy main characters could ever come back, and what would that be like? You haven't been wrong to wait and wonder all these years. And with Rebels, being only, 8 years old, something like that, such an entry point. But then people loved that family and they dispersed. And then it's like, is the family ever going to come back together again? Is anybody ever going to go look for our Ezra? And it felt like that emotion. It isn't like, I like Rebels. It's like, I need Ezra to come home and I need Sabine to look for him. And I need to know Hera's doing okay being a single parent, and it felt like that, like I need to know my family is okay, which is a different feeling than I love that show and they're bringing it back. It's the deeper core of Star Wars that people were screaming for.
Absolutely. And Jen, you're in the middle of your Rebels rewatch too. So you might be feeling that energy yourself now.
Oh man, I love Rebels. I love Rebels so much. I saw Chopper on the floor, just a droid builder who had brought their chopper, and I squealed with delight. And this was like, I saw so many Sabines. I too am like, what is happening with my family? We'll talk more about the little snippet that we saw. Oh my gosh, because it's not just about the characters, it's also about the story. And I think fans we want answers, right? We want to know what is happening, and they're hopefully going to share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some of these panel highlights here. We have some news that came out of this. We'll start with the overall big one. The Mando 3, Season 3 of The Mandalorian is coming in February 2023. Not a surprise, but good to get that answer. A lot of Star Wars coming your way from, well, Kenobi now till then and beyond. Any thoughts about having to wait a couple extra months, Joseph, for us to figure out what's going to happen in the Mando world?
Yeah, I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is that trailer is so great, we're going to talk about it, and like, but I want this now, and then immediately I'm like, actually,
Yeah.
I'm great. I want it now in the same way that sometimes when I've had a huge pasta dinner, I want cherry pie immediately. Like, you want it, but you won't actually enjoy it right now.
Yeah,
because you're full. So I think with Kenobi, we're in the throes of something wonderful right now. Andor coming so quickly after it, Bad Batch season 2. I'm very happy to let all of that breathe and then let Mando 3, especially as it seems to be growing in scale, have plenty of its own space and have us as fans be able to really put all of our focus and attention into it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there's so much wonderful things coming between now and then. I can force myself to wait. I guess it's the way to say it. Because we were talking about that trailer. There's some stuff in there. I'm like, wow, give it to me now. But we'll wait there. Jen, your thoughts on stretching out Mando just a little bit?
I know, I was shocked and I thought, oh no, I can't wait. And like you said, Joseph, I'm like, oh, actually, yes, I can. We are in the middle of Kenobi. Andor is coming soon. That will tie us over for a little bit and then we'll let our food settle and then we'll get back into it. So it makes sense, even though it's hard to wait. But at the same time, we did get that episode in the Book of Boba Fett. So that was like our little appetizer to hold us over.
I think now that this first trailer came out for the people in the panel, and I'm sure it's out there leaked and being pulled down. Right. I'm sure that's what's happening right now is postings and pullings as we speak. It will come out obviously more trailers, but I think seeing it really made me extremely happy for the storytelling that we had in Book of Boba Fett, those episodes with Din and Grogu, because it's really got season 3 set up to just. I think it would be harder to wait if the question was still like, is Grogu going to be in this? Are they going to come back together? Having that resolved and just having it be this forward movement towards what's the future of Mandalore. That's so the absolute forward movement of that trailer, which we'll talk about. But that makes the wait easier.
Yes.
I think that's a great point. Great point. Bigger things to worry about than Din and Grogu get back together, which was pretty big to worry about. So
it was.
One of the things that was revealed in the show, in the panel, and something that we absolutely love here at ForceCenter is that the wonderful Rick Famuyiwa, who was on the panel, is on board as an executive producer, which means I'm sure we'll see him directing as well. But he is part of the leadership of this show, an executive producer in charge of a lot of things that'll be coming our way, including going on to season 4, because Favreau's already saying he's putting pen to paper on that one there. So Jennifer, the director of Dope, made quite an impression on all of us from Mando Chapter 2 and also the other episode, Chapter 6 in season 1, right? Yep. And beyond. So Jennifer, your thoughts on him getting a little bit of a title promotion here in Mando?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he, like you said, he directed and wrote some of our favorite episodes from The Mandalorian. So I think it makes sense. They're going to have to start having more people on board. Obviously, Deborah Chow was busy with Obi-Wan, and Dave Filoni's busy with Ahsoka. So it just makes sense since he's been a part of this project since the beginning. He knows what the tone is. He knows who the characters are. And so, yeah. And I believe he was also an executive producer. He may still be an executive producer on The Shy. I think so. Anyways, so yeah, I'm glad. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he brings.
Absolutely, from the get-go, Chapter 2 set that tone and that tone poem feel that we really love here at ForceCenter, and clearly Favreau does as well. Joseph, this was everyone was very happy, by the way, but I think you and I were clapping really hard during this time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I had some weird cheers moments this weekend where I wooed. I love being in those panels because I feel permission to woo.
Yes.
To actually yell. And I actually yelled for this news because to me, I think this is one of the really impactful things because his voice and his perspective is going to be, more imprinted on this third season. It's a really big piece of news. It sounds like just a title, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's creative input. So a couple things that thrilled me about it, he did The Child, he did The Prisoner in season 2, he did The Believer. And I think what really connects a lot of those is there's great action. In behind the scenes, they talk a lot about how involved he was in wanting to create really cool action scenes. Like he loves Star Wars on that. It's fun pulp adventure level. How can we make this cool? But almost all the episodes have a depth of morality, and in particular, issues of morality of violence. What is the morality of violence? When do you act violently in service of who? What does it do to you as a person? That's all going on in all of his episodes. It's in all of Mandalorian, but these are 3 episodes that kind of dive deeper into that. And that seems so perfect for this third season, which seems to be going on this grander scale in this question of what is going to happen to Mandalore the planet, but also Mandalore the people. And the thing that they're wrestling with is back to, Duchess Satine. Are we a people of violence? Is that who we are? Does that define us? And if so, where and when should that violence be directed? And he just seems like the episodes he's already done, that seems like that's the kind of deep ideas that he is interested in. And it seems to me that's a big thematic idea of the third season. It makes a lot of sense to me. He made a great joke about, that Jon Favreau saw his film Dope and thought that was a Star Wars movie. And if anybody hasn't seen Dope, I watched it just because of his involvement in Mandalorian. And it's a very, adult film. There's drugs, there's sexual situations, there's adult humor, all that. But it's a coming of age story. So it's one of those great movies where like the beating heart of this is Star Wars. The surface is very, very different because it's set in the real world and adult stuff. But the heart is Star Wars. So I'm excited that Jon Favreau saw that, brought him in, and that the Mandoverse is becoming a place to see who fits and who wants to be at Lucasfilm and who does Lucasfilm want to be there. And this is just, I think, the second, maybe with Deb Chow, of all these people who are going to graduate to bigger and better things.
Yeah, well said, Jennifer.
Yes.
Good news for you, yeah?
Yeah, very good news. And I double checked. Yes, he is and was an executive producer on The Shy, which was a Showtime show. It is a Showtime show created by Lena Waithe. So, and he actually directed that pilot as well. So yeah, I mean, he's going to hit the ground running, and oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. I love. I just love hearing him talk Star Wars. It's just, maybe that should be the interview process. Again, we make jokes about Tony Gilroy kind of being like, what's Star Wars? I don't know. I'm writing my thing set in this galaxy. And we'll talk about the Andor trailer. I think that's working. But I love hearing his own stories, similar to Leslie Headland, just the way she talks about Star Wars, the way he talks about Star Wars, what it means to him and what you can get out of it is pretty valuable. So I'm excited to see that. And again, I'm pretty sure we'll see him behind the director's chair, or sitting on the director's chair in the middle of the volume as well. The show is clearly growing in scale. Joseph, you mentioned that. And all roads lead to Mandalore, it looks like, at least in this season, though I'm sure we'll be beyond. Jennifer, you probably didn't see the trailer, right? I don't remember what is it out there in the public and what is not out there. I don't know.
Thank you, Reddit, because everywhere I turned, like you're saying, it was pulled down real quick. So, but I did find somebody had recorded it. I could only see half of the screen, so I could not see what the bottom half was. But I was excited, very excited. Do we want to dive into it?
Let's dive into it. I want to start with your excitement. What's pulling you in here? We can overall describe it as we go along for those who didn't get the chance to see it or did not go into the wilds of Reddit.
Yeah. First of all, was there a tree full of quacking monkey lizards? Did I see that right?
Lord, yes.
Yes. Oh my, I was like, what? In their natural habitat? Incredible.
But I just want to interject real quickly. I was lucky to be sitting in between Ken and our friend Mark Ellis. And this was the thing that blew Mark Ellis's mind. He made a loud noise and we grabbed one another's thighs in the thrill of seeing quacking monkey lizards just thriving in a tree.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. This is
Yeah.
why I love this
Absolutely.
Mandoverse
Absolutely.
so much.
Navarro's grown up. You know, they're not eating these animals anymore. They're letting them live in the trees. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I'm really intrigued by this idea, and this is why the Book of Boba Fett episode was so important. Is we're getting right into the story, and the idea of Mando feeling shunned, losing his family essentially, and seeking redemption. And, what is that going to be for him now that he's kind of had his identity stripped away from him? How is he going to rebuild? What is that journey going to be like? I mean, he now has Grogu, but he's putting the pieces together. And then lastly, Bo-Katan, holy moly. I'm like, is she the antagonist? Like what is going on? All I know is I'm thrilled that Katie Sackhoff, who I love, and she's a fantastic actress, they are giving her a good storyline. And I can't wait to see what the conflict is between her and Mando, how that plays out.
Yeah, just the image we had heard coming out of the showcase panel Thursday, which we had not seen the footage, and we literally off mic, before we got to the podcast stage, it was like, Alex, Molly, describe what you saw, and just the image of Bo-Katan on a throne, not unlike her sisters, in a new location, a place with not Mandalore, and rain on the windows, and her just leaning over on her helmet, looking angry, looking determined, looking more maybe, sure of herself as she pushes forward against those who are against her, i.e. the armorer, who we know we're going to get a lot more of too as well. That was one of my favorite reveals in the trailer, was just that Bo-Katan on the throne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was going to anything. The final shot, for those who didn't, maybe we'll just put that on the table now. N1 starfighter in the clouds, come out of the clouds, and you just see Mandalore destroyed, the shell of the capital city there. That was probably the shot of the trailer, if not the weekend, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's a gauntlet fighter. I think it's a Mandalorian gauntlet fighter.
Yeah.
I'll have to scrub Reddit because you could be right, but there's some great shots of the N1 in a much larger space battle. Like everything about it did seem like show them the money on the screen, and that it's a big enough success that just like lots of shots of many Mandalorians, fighting, falling out of or jumping out of a dropship. The scale of it looked really big, which was great. Some of the details, the Kowakian monkey lizards in a tree, that did speak to a more prosperous Navarro. Grief Karga has new robes, and it looks like he can afford even like more expensive and larger robes. Like by season 5, he's just going to be absolutely suffocating in a massive robe. There's a quick shot of what appears to be Babu Frick in more of his people and Zellans, which is great to see some of those sequel characters and sequel era connections. There's a quick shot of the comedian Tim Meadows.
Right.
Is that true? Yeah,
which assures to us that the casting philosophy of Mandalorian is surprise them with older comedians is absolutely going to stay alive.
Did you make Jon Favreau laugh in 1995? Get in here.
I'm really looking forward to Dana Carvey's appearance in The Mandalorian.
I love that.
I got a chance with an old public radio show that I worked with. It was a comedy variety show where Tim Meadows was the guest, and I was asked to do most of the writing for Tim Meadows, and he was a great guy and very funny to work with. So I've been a big fan of him for a long time, so excited to see him there. Yeah, and then almost everything else. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just saying, yes, absolutely. Love to.
Okay. I think almost everything else details-wise was about the absolute Mandalore-centric nature of this, the Bo-Katan's throne room that we all kind of joked over the weekend. It really did look like when you move apartments to even a new city, but you just rebuild your apartment that you used to have. You put everything in the exact same place. It's like her Mandalorian throne away from Mandalore. We see the armorer on the move. She's attacking in Ithorian, but it's interesting to see her out and about. It didn't look like her defending a covert. It looked like her out on a mission, which is different. There's a shot of a little Mandalorian helmet. Did not have visible ear holes, but it invited it invited the possibility that the armor's like, hey, I know, Din, I know you're traveling around trying to find your redemption. Good luck with that. You're not a Mandalorian now. But if you're going to go around saying you're a cult of two and this little green foundling is a Mandalorian, you better put a helmet on that.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But Ken, you thought that too, right? That the little helmet was intriguing.
Well, we are certainly not the first podcast to mention that, without a doubt. But I just felt there were so many other wonderful things to talk about. But even on social media or even just in conversations at bars during celebration, I felt that wasn't mentioned as much. The tiny little Mando helmet.
Yeah. And then that big money shot at the end of the ship floating above the ruins of the domed city. You know, it's great that we actually saw the bombing of Mandalore and seeing those cities' domes shatter. That was a really powerful way to end it. And so there's all these fun things and all these real Mandalore specific things, including some lines of dialogue from Bo-Katan saying, something along the lines to Din of your cult ran away when Mandalore needed you the most, which is a great contrast to Armor sort of complimenting their group for leaving Mandalore. And it's the only reason they survived the purge to keep the real Mandalore alive. And Bo-Katan's perspective, like, no, you left when we needed you the most. That great moment where Grogu appears to fall through something to a cave, and Bo-Katan greets him by saying, your dad's not the only Mandalorian. To me, this show started off as the Mandalorian, this one guy. What does that mean? Why does he not take his helmet off? What does that mean? And it feels like it is really exploding into the promise of the premise this season, that it is about, we got the armor, we got Bo-Katan, we got Din confused in the middle of, I want my helmet back. I want back in my version of Mandalore, but maybe that's not where I should be. The trailer had nothing with the Darksaber, but we know that's on the table. So it feels like everything is just building to this great big question of, what does it mean to be Mandalorian? What is the way? Will the cycle of violence be broken? And how much will Din ultimately be one of the people who is responsible to say, I'm going to choose the creed, not be told what the creed is. This is an opportunity to rebuild. What is the creed?
Yeah, what is the creed? It's a great idea. And I'm not pitting them against each other in a classic, let's have them fight it out. But you get the idea of the armor on one side or Bo-Katan on the other side. And, two different takes on the same situation. And we got a lot from the armor last year. And the armor continues to be an intriguing character. We're going to get more. She's got a hammer in her hand, and she's ready to hurt people. And some of the stuff we saw. And Emily Swallow was on the panel, just wonderful for joy. She was at one point just kind of leaping for joy when they're showing the trailer. And Grogu came out on the panel, which was a highlight as well. So I just love that, exactly what you're saying, Joseph, of just we have kind of Mando in the middle and these different the ways on each side, and as they build it forward. And John, even in I didn't grab the quote, but in him talking about writing season 4, he mentions what you were talking about, Joseph. It was like, like a lot of shows start a little smaller. He's like, when I was doing the Mando, I could go anywhere and put him anywhere. It was a wide open, story. Now we're getting to specific things, and I need to get specific answers. And he's having a lot of fun with that. And you can kind of see as the show grows that it's starting to come out that way, starting to emerge, this whole bigger picture.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying about not just pitting people against one another. I think what's so compelling about it is it's characters who have suffered real trauma, and there's this chance to define the new in this classic Star Wars story of, will they go to the just fight because the violence feels easier, or will they find another path?
Yeah. Absolutely. Little great things. Obviously, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed himself, he just seems like he's both Carl Weathers and Apollo Creed wherever he goes. He was so fun on the panel.
He was.
It's hard to upstage Tem and his wonderful traditional haka that he did, but Carl Weathers came close, if there's anyone, I thought, to upstaging anyone there. But also Carson Teva and a cool fighter, like not a fighter jacket, like a leather fighter jacket type of classic pilot look. Him being there, a lot of cool things like that. I was really blown away. I really love the footage. My love of Mando has sometimes needed to grow. It's always been there, but it's. I looked to other things first in Star Wars. I have to admit that, and Mando just slowly. Even Book of Boba Fett. We'll talk about that in the larger story. This trailer is I'm most excited for this season of Mando than any other season. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. It feels like it's exploding into great, big, huge space saga.
Yeah. Jen, anything else on the trailer that you want to discuss?
Yeah, no, I'd love to see the full screen. That's for sure. That would be helpful. Because I'm like, wait, I don't remember that moment. Maybe it was on the lower half of the screen. That's why I don't remember it. But it does make me think about that Vanity Fair article about talking about initially when Jon Favreau had his idea of The Mandalorian, and Dave Filoni had also been working on his idea on The Mandalorian, how the two came together. It kind of does feel like at this point of the story, those two ideas seem to be merging and building out this larger world on Mandalorian culture, Mandalorian people, and I am looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. The other part of the panel was this, it was Mando Plus. Everyone was laughing and joking about that title going in, and not surprising, we got some great reveals, and they moved to the Ahsoka Show, which is being filmed up the road, not too far, up in the Manhattan Beach, San Pedro area of California. Dave Filoni kept talking about that filming. Rosario could not be there on Thursday, but Saturday for the panel, she showed up. Came on out, and then they also introduced Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine. A confirmation, absolutely, finally, even though that pretty much had just been an accepted fact at this point. Great moment. Again, this was when the Rebels energy of the crowd was there. So, Jen, your thoughts too. You got to see them on the Star Wars live stage, but just to see them on this big stage and the people's love for them. Any thoughts on that there?
Yeah, oh man, I've been a fan of Rosario Dawson for years, but hearing her talk about having watched the Clone Wars and how she said that she would freeze frame moments of Ahsoka to study her, to get her performance right, to then talk to their fight coordinator and say, how can you help me do this? I want to do that move. And the fight coordinator would say, well, that's animation. We can't do that, but here's something that we can do. She's just the level of commitment. She understands what the legacy of Ahsoka is, and she wants to be able to bring that to life. And I rewatched her performance in The Mandalorian, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is totally an Ahsoka thing that she did. It was such a small moment. And again, from this teaser footage that we saw, just the way that she kind of gracefully took her hood off, I was like, wow, that is animated Ahsoka brought to life. It really blew me away. Natasha Liu Bordizzo, she looks like Sabine. Like, it was kind of shocking to me just how much she looks like the character. And she too is also just so thrilled to be on board. So it's just all perfect. It's coming together beautifully. Yeah,
kind of crazy. And then Jen, did you say you saw the teaser footage? Is that out there as well? I don't know what's out there on Reddit. I don't know what's out there.
I did. Thanks to Reddit. I saw the teaser footage. And
the whole screen?
It looked like, well, it was crooked. But I got it. And the first thing was, I was like, oh, the back, was that the back of Hera? Like, are they really just showing us that off the bat? I could not believe it. Boo-hoo-hoo. But yeah.
And there's a big thing we're going to discuss here in a second here that us and definitely Joseph and Alex Damon applauding very loudly for. But I do want to, you mentioned it, the care that Rosario Dawson's put into the character, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, at least starting out looking like Sabine and taking the character and making her own. Joseph, we were there, when I thought Filoni, like you said up top, did kind of address this. It seemed to almost address it for himself. Like he at one point had to realize this is where they are. He was part of this decision-making process, including, bringing Rosario in, but he talked about, hey, there's a lot of things that go into building these characters, and they start in animation. There's so many voices and creators and animators, designers, but you have to kind of release yourself of the bias and kind of go to this part. And now there's two actors, and taking on these roles and building them from here. And it almost seemed like he didn't say it, but like I'm reading into it, but just like I had to tell myself that first, even as I took these characters I helped create and I helped build and let go of that. That seemed to be one of the themes, because these are big characters, but obviously people are going to be very passionate about the animated versions, I don't know if I've misread that at all, but I took that from Dave's talk.
That's what I took from his words as best as I can remember. And also just his tone. It seemed like I am out here trying to have the Star Wars lesson of I am telling fans that I had to let go of some things and listen to some other people and look at some things in some different ways. Obviously, with the voice actors that originated these characters, you're such fans of them. And Ashley Eckstein in particular has been such an ambassador, not just of Ahsoka, but of Star Wars. The impact of her universe alone, right, is going to make people love her. Tia Sircar is, people absolutely love her. And then we're out here celebrating and we're all applauding these new actors who are going to embody these characters. And it's hard. It's difficult. Yeah. And, I haven't dug to look it up, so this is coming from memory. But I remember a couple of quotes from Filoni where people are like, hey, when you look at the Rebels voice acting cast, these actors all kind of look like their characters. And he'd answer like, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? What about that? Like in a typical Filoni having fun. But, this is totally on me for guessing or inferring. I'm not sharing any fact or news drop. This is totally me having an opinion. To me, it felt like there was a time in a world where he was still thinking like, I'm going to move to live action. I would love to do something with these characters and maybe I can bring them all along with me. Yeah. With these actors. And again, I just want to be really clear. I don't have any facts. I'm interpreting a cryptic thing he said. Yeah. But with that, it felt like he was kind of saying to the audience, there was a huge part of me that just wanted to dig my feet into the ground and say, all the voice actors are coming along, period. And that he had to listen to other people and he had to say, like, these aren't just your characters, Dave. They're going to be Star Wars characters. And it's not, there are a million things to consider, from age to availability to, chemistry to whatever. He didn't say anything negative about any of the actors, right? But it was just like, that's what he was really, the main thrust of what he was saying is, I think that he learned from listening to other people that there were a million considerations in who was going to physically embody this character right now.
Yeah. And I just would like to say, I was one of those fans. I felt very conflicted because I love Ashley so much, and she has been such a great ambassador for Star Wars. And it was hard for me at first to accept Rosario Dawson, even though I love Rosario Dawson, as Ahsoka. But what has happened is, and seeing Ashley at Celebration this year, seeing Rosario Dawson at Celebration, they're two different embodiments of this character. They're both being fantastic ambassadors. And I think for me, Ashley herself, how gracious she has been. She has continued to be a part of the fan community. She was there this weekend, meeting and greeting people, there with her universe, there with her Mindful Matters series, which she now has. Like, I think she actually helped me get peace about it because she has peace about it. And I really commend her, because as an actor, I don't know, but I would find it to be very difficult if this character that I had brought to life was now being portrayed by somebody else. That's hard. That's really hard, but she is nothing but gracious. And they now are both carrying the torch of Ahsoka. And it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah. Ashley Eckstein hosted the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones panel as well. So
that's right.
There was a prominence there, and Tia Sircar put out a really nice tweet saying thank you for all of the wonderful messages. Star Wars fans are the best. So there was also a positivity and forward movement energy there, I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that. Yeah, it is. In the little teaser footage, yes, there was a lot there, and we'll discuss that here before we take a break. This, you mentioned it, Jen. I think. The big headlines of this footage was just seeing the live action footage. They're only 3 weeks into shooting, so it was impressive that they could pull something important out of it. The back of what we think is Hera, even StarWars.com and their recap of it said we think that's Hera, but with no confirmation. The back of Sabine walking up to the wall, her art, and seeing that in live action, seeing the art, seeing rebels on a wall in live action was the big drawing card. So we'll start there. But Joseph, that was not all. There was perhaps the biggest headline of the day was, of course, your favorite reveal, and mine as well. But yeah,
one of the biggest headlines, and one of my other odd screams where I was, I expected to be wooing with more people, but I wooed mostly alone, at least audibly. Other people were obviously very excited. But a shot of what appears to be Professor Huyang from the Clone Wars animated series, the arc, The Gathering, this fascinating character that is an ancient droid that helps the Jedi younglings build their lightsabers after they've successfully found their kyber crystals on Ilum, voiced by David Tennant. And one of those many threads from the Clone Wars were like, that's a fascinating idea that it would be this ancient droid. who has this deep connection to what a lightsaber means, and has, you know, the end of that arc is, you know, he's going to tell a funny story about Yoda making his crystal, this depth of history. And that question of like, well, what happened to him? Is that a thread we could ever pick up? So thrilled to see Yang, because he's a favorite character of mine. He's, you know, I would hope that he's going to be voiced by David Tennant, who, you know, Doctor Who and many other things. Love him. But then the other big thing is he, along with many other images, to me kind of opened up what the vibe of this short little teaser is there's also a shot of Ahsoka, you know, walking through ruins, that it had this vibe that what this whole era is about is, you know, and Ahsoka in particular is about reconnection, about the Rebels family trying to reconnect, about Ahsoka, you know, trying to reconnect with the Jedi past. There was a very spiritual feel to all the images we saw. And Hu Yang isn't just a cool character. He is tied into the deep spiritual history of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those ruins. And you can start going to, we always joke that, you know, how many predictions of Ilum are going to finally come true of Ilum being around during this time, but in a different, different state, with the Empire kind of doing some work that the First Order then will pick up here and all that kind of stuff during this time. Actually, by this time, the Empire, of course, is not holding on to it there. That's always interesting. But yeah, some of those big things, that feeling of just reconnecting, you say that, I think that's great. Picking up the pieces, where this great picking up the pieces era, you know, rebuilding things, seeing it across the board there. Just great stuff. So yeah, Jen, anything jump out to you from what you saw?
From what I saw, I was, like I said, I was so surprised by how much they showed us actually in such a short amount of filming. It's pretty impressive. And just really seeing these characters bringing to life things that we've seen in the animated series. When I saw that trailer, I heard people cheering for the professor, and he must have been one of the, it was like, it was small, but it was mighty. One last thing I'll say is that Mina Masood, forgive me for my pronunciation, who played Aladdin in the live action Aladdin movie, he actually tweeted, I'm sure that he signed an NDA. We don't know if he's playing Ezra, but he was like, congratulations to all the people out there at Celebration, blah, blah, blah. It just was like really cheeky. And everyone's like, you're Ezra. Just say it. You're Ezra. But Natasha Liu Bordizzo had said that she knew that she was cast for like a year. It's been a year that she's known. So I'm sure all will be revealed soon enough. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? At one point, Joseph, in that panel, John or Dave or both joked about two things have been kept back. Grogu and Luke. Everything else has pretty much been discovered at some point over the last 3 to 4 years in developing all these things.
It was a great, I think, Favreau moment where he does feel like the guy you're just having a dinner party with, who loves telling stories. Because that was, I think Ash had kind of framed it as like, you know, how challenging is that to keep secrets? He's like, we only ever kept 2.
Yeah, yeah.
We kept Baby Yoda and Luke. Everything else.
Yeah. That's funny.
One of the fun things here, we'll take a break unless we'll have a 2-hour first half of the show here. Thoughts on this truly connected corner of the Star Wars stories. And I'll start by saying this. Joseph and I were fortunate enough to go to the Mando experience on Sunday. It's the first thing we did on Sunday. And man, it's great. We took a lot of pictures. We're posted some on the ForceCenter Instagram page. It was a lot of fun. But Joseph, you right away, when walked in, you're like, it's just very clear. Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Mando, it is all one corner of the Star Wars story. And they did even address on the panel. But I just wanted to talk about that a little bit of just what we got going on. It's a connected corner. It's their corner. It's obviously going to connect to the bigger Star Wars story in its own way, especially with the emotional canon. But the controversy over Book of Boba Fett and the title of it, and should have been this, should have that. And I even got a little snippy with someone in the Hilton lobby from the news media. They were like, they should have done a Boba Fett show about Boba Fett. I said it was about Boba Fett. And then I'd left the bar shortly after the exchange. Joseph, but going to the positive side of it, it's just very clear that it's all one chapter of the Star Wars saga.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting discussion of presentation and how much do you want to surprise an audience versus how much do you want to prepare an audience. And I think, maybe we would have had a different conversation if the they had made a bigger deal. They had said it kind of off the cuff in a fun way that Book of Boba Fett's kind of Mandalorian season 2.5. But if they had released it as The Mandalorian : Book of Boba Fett, or they released Book of Boba Fett and just one of the press things from the get-go was, it's the Book of Boba Fett, but you're going to be seeing Din Djarin. If they had led with that, would that have calmed the waters? But I think that's going forward without them being defensive about it. The panel was called Mando Plus, and it featured all the main characters from Book of Boba Fett. It featured Ahsoka. The Mandalorian Experience, for anybody who doesn't know, they announced it on Thursday. It was a museum level sharing of props and costumes, complete with like backdrops and sets. It wasn't just like, here's some costumes in little glass containers. It was a full N1 starfighter. It was a moving animatronic bantha. It was the beloved astromech drummer from Boba Fett that Ken was very patient as I took a million photos of. It was a great experience, and it was Mando and Book of Boba Fett, and they had a series of ships as you walked in, models, and one of them was a T6 shuttle, which looks like the kind of ship that Ahsoka was seen using at the end of Rebels, and but it was a production model for live action. So even there was this hint of Ahsoka. So I think going forward, this idea to try to communicate that they're all connected is great, and I think they're connected by timeline, obviously, by creators, by the galactic events. I think they all might kind of lean into discoveries about the state of the First Order, its beginnings. But more than anything, as we're talking about them, I really do feel like they're connected by this theme of this is the New Republic era. This is an era of recovery, rebuilding, reconnecting, returning. Boba's coming out of the Sarlacc and rebuilding something. Din is trying to decide who he wants to be. Ahsoka seems to be reckoning with the Jedi past and trying to move forward. The Rebels family is coming back together again. It's just all a lot about like recovery and rebuilding to me.
This is, picking up the pieces. As I keep going to that. Is that a country song? Maybe, I don't know. Figure that out. Jen, final thoughts on this, and we'll take a break here. This corner of the Star Wars story.
Yeah. I went to the Mandalorian Experience as well. And awesome. Oh my gosh. And I, it's funny because I didn't even think about it, but as I'm walking through and I'm like, oh yeah, that's from the Book of Boba Fett. Like it just felt so seamless. It does feel like it's one big story within this era. So yeah, I mean, I loved the Book of Boba Fett, but that's another conversation. And the last thing I'll say about the Mandalorian Experience is that to me, it just felt so generous of them to share that with the fans. Right. These props and these costumes and the models, to be able to see that up close, like you're saying, not just behind a glass. I mean, these pieces, like you could walk up and really look at the level of detail. It was truly special. And I will say the level of care, making sure that everything looked perfect. Everything looked the way that they had wanted. There was Jon Favreau had very specific ideas of how he wanted this presented. And he was constantly, if there was something that was a little bit off, he was going to make sure that it was taken care of and fixed for the fans to experience it in the best way possible. That to me is just, it's, wow, we were really, really lucky to be able to see that. And if you haven't seen it, there's lots of videos and photos that they allowed people to take, which sometimes they don't always do. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, the fact that Grogu was animatronic in the N1 and banged the silver ball and rotated and waved at people, it appeared as though he made eye contact with me, and I was like, "This is mind blowing."
He probably did, because there were 3 operators in a booth, and yes, they had 3 operators in that booth watching to interact with fans. Like what? I mean, that is so magical. I just was so blown away by that experience.
It is the definition of they didn't have to go that hard.
That's what I'm saying.
It could have been 10 costumes in a case and some models, and people would have been, that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
It does show an absolute love of this world and the fans to give them a kind of a next level experience.
That makes not surprised, but makes a lot of sense, because I got a great video and I was like, he waved right at me. Right at me. I believed it. Well, we are going to take a quick break here because there's a lot to get to. Before we do take that quick break, we're going to have a ForceCenter recommends an audiobook we think you should still try out on us. Joseph, what do we have today?
Yeah, we are still recommending the great book Brotherhood by Mike Chen. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of my con voice that's slipped in. Brotherhood by Mike Chen, great story of Anakin and Obi-Wan will get you in the mood for Kenobi.
Absolutely. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to get to the Lucasfilm Showcase panel and some extra news. Stick around to Force Center's Look Back at Star Wars Celebration 2022. Welcome back to Force Center, the big show, the main show, the strained voices of our Star Wars podcast feed. A lot of screaming, a lot of wooing, a lot of talking loud, safely as you could in bars. So we apologize, but we think you all get it and understand, especially those who were in attendance. Again, shout out to all those who we met, the cool toys. We didn't even really talk about the collections. I mean, I got to witness Joseph go on just some wonderful collector binges. Joseph actually made my dreams come true by picking up the Kenner Emperor's Royal Guard, one of the ones that were out of the package, but it's in pristine condition. I have it in my hands now, Joseph. I ripped it out of the plastic when I got home. So thank you, sir, for picking that up. And then Brian Ward, the great Brian Ward. We spent a lot of time with Brian. He designed so many logos for us and many other shows. He was gracious, and I had spotted a Shmi figure I wanted early, and I went back to get it, and it was gone. It was the only peg empty on this wall of figures.
Oh.
So Brian actually tracked down the versions from the Power of the Force collection to a Shmi figure that I'm going to proudly display here too. So Joseph, we might have to do a separate episode for all your adventures, but you got some pretty good stuff though.
Oh, yeah. I got some weird ones that I didn't even remember existed. And I got some absolute holy grails for me, including Hermie Odal, which is he's just if you don't off the top of your head remember who Hermie Odal is, Google him and then imagine the sheer weight of plastic to make that action figure. That huge mound of plastic with a weird lolling tongue is now a part of my little family of action figures. So yeah, no, it's great. We joke, and Joseph will be the first to say, man, it is something to watch him go around and just hunt and peck, and then that what we joked about the non-union equivalent toy from Attack of the Clones that he picked up. If you haven't highlighted that on your social yet, Joseph, I think you need to do about a series of videos on that one. There will be many, many TikTok not unboxing videos that I'll be sharing around. I got some real winners I'm excited to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jen, did you get a chance? I think I saw something that you got for your daughter. One of your daughters there that was great.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to really look around the floor, but I did. We ran to the Star Wars Celebration shop, and it felt like, what is it? Guy Fieri's the grocery games or whatever. Like I just ran in there, was trying to grab anything I could. There was like shirts all over the place. I ended up getting the lightsaber training bat and remote that has been a big hit with my kids and my dog. I got a Frog Lady plush, which I had no idea. I was like, I don't know if they're going to even like this. And then they started fighting over it. My 2-year-old won. So now she's just going everywhere and hanging out with the rest of the crew and the dolls and stuff. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I just wanted to buy everything. That's the problem. Yeah. So it's probably better I didn't walk the floor too much for merch.
Yeah, I'm probably lucky that I was not able to get into the Celebration store, or I would have absolutely made it impossible for Ken to give me a ride home in his car with the amount of stuff.
Yeah, we were squeezed into my Mustang, which barely fits my groceries when I go shopping. So when I have to use that, so it was great. But we made it. All right, let's get to this Lucasfilm Showcase panel. This was a big one on Thursday. Yeah, and we'll go into a little, not too much detail, but tell the tale of not getting in. But we want to make sure Joseph and I aren't complaining that we didn't get access and how dare it. There was a little bit of miscommunication on a lot of fronts, and even beyond just the media and press, on how to get into some of the panels if you had a QR code because you won the lottery or you were in standby. And certainly it's hard to put these things on, not wagging any fingers at Reed Pop or Disney or anything. It just was a bit much, and we felt a lot of people didn't get to see it because they didn't show the panel on the Star Wars live stage, which was a little bit different from the past. There might have been some sponsorship reasons or technically, who knows why. But Joseph, we did have, as we mentioned up top, we had to overcome a little bit of grumpy vibes. But it was just, it was a little overwhelming, at least that first day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it is the really hard balance we always talk about on the podcast, that obviously Star Wars means so much to us because the stories have depth and power, and people like Jon Favreau or and Dave Filoni speak about it and are aware of it. But then it's also like, we make the joke, George Lucas didn't start a nonprofit in 1977. And there's always that balance between it is intended to make money, and it is intended to be this wonderful storytelling. And I think something like this, a convention, getting access to the cool thing, is one of those places where there's really that tension of like, I don't want Star Wars to say I can't watch Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
I think that is the tension, and nobody ever wants anybody to feel excluded. And I think it was a really great opportunity to feel like, oh man, we want to be in there, but hey, this one didn't work out, and maybe another one will, and be able to just go, well, instead of being grumpy about that, let's just enjoy the joy of being around people and have a sense of fun and a sense of humor about the fact that we didn't get in. It was a really good challenge. And I think we did a good job of rising to it, Ken.
We both leaned on each other during our times of trouble. It's hard to also stay down when you hit to the floor and you get a floor beer and see toys and get a great panel. A lot of things to look at.
Lucky to be there at all, right?
All.
To be at the convention at all in any way.
Yeah,
so.
But convention FOMO is real. I struggle with it. From panels I don't get into, the right bar to be into when, someone's at the Hilton, someone's at the Marriott. It's part of the experience. We do want to talk about this panel. It seemed a lot of fun. The opening with the choir singing Duel of the Fates. Ends with John Williams coming out, Harrison Ford, all those things, bookend by the wonderful music of Williams. Really great, fun panel. Yvette Nicole Brown hosted it and had a different vibe. Everyone kind of standing at points. Wasn't the old normal sit down type of thing. So absolutely loved just seeing the images there. Jen, did you get a chance to take this one in at all?
I did not. It was like, I'll say this, I was backstage and I don't remember what was happening on the Celebration Live stage, but it seemed like there was just so much excitement. I'd forgotten that the Lucasfilm panel was going on, just because it was so thrilling where I was. And so then to see all this, I was like, holy, I missed out so much. I did not even know that was happening. But it does explain a lot, which I'll share maybe next week.
Excellent.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Highlights for you, Joseph?
Of the panel?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I did see some clips that have been posted online. I think the premiere of the Kenobi theme from John Williams, and that's a really cool way to do it. To say we got the breaking news that he wrote a theme. It's going to be in the show that is premiered later that night. But that treat of having Williams play it live for the first time for fans, that seemed to me to be a highlight that I enjoyed watching on video and hearing other people tell me about how beautiful it was. Ewan and Hayden being on stage, and it was a theme across the weekend where it felt like Hayden was given so much love that he almost didn't know what to do with it. It was like, if love is more action figures than fit in Ken's car, it felt like Hayden was like, I thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home with, 800 standing ovations and endless thunderous applause. Thank you. But that's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yeah, it was indeed. One of the big things to come out of it, obviously a lot with the Kenobi stuff, and we did the big Obi-Wan Kenobi reports. Hopefully you all got to catch that episode after you watched the Kenobi episodes. We'll be doing that weekly here. Of course, the Andor trailer was... I still think my favorite thing to come out of this panel, and actually one of my favorite things to come out of this weekend. I even watched it again this morning a few times. Love the Andor trailer. So quick thoughts, and we are, like I said up top, we're going to do a deeper dive on a later episode this week, but we just want to mention it here. And Jen, definitely want to get your thoughts after you finally got a chance to see the Andor trailer.
I did watch it many times, and this to me was the highlight. And I was not expecting it. I mean, I've been looking forward to this series, but after that trailer, listening to Diego Luna, Genevieve O'Reilly talk about it, it got me even more excited. I really loved how Diego Luna expressed that the story of Andor is about the power of the people, the power a group of people can have to enact change and make an impact. I like that from this teaser that they're showing us how the Empire is affecting so many different types of people. Like it's affecting all walks of life that are being oppressed. They're getting fed up. It feels very timely, like a very important story. And I love the Mon Mothma storyline as well. That really surprised me. Yeah, I like that we're getting to see this real character, to get into her head. That was really, oh man, I forgot that it's a teaser trailer. Like this is just the beginning. It was just a little taste, and it felt like it gave us so much.
They should have the clip of Count Dooku at the beginning of every teaser trailer saying, "This is just the beginning."
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, can't wait to dive in more. But the idea of, Mothma, which we had known from that Vanity Fair, going to be more in focus and do some great stuff. Everyone joking and having fun with Mothma owns more than one style of dress, even a different hairstyle. All that stuff was great to see. But just what the show's going to be about, Joseph, is what's got us really excited around these parts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of those fun experiences that we had that we wouldn't have had if we were in the panel room, as we were in the standby line at that point. And you heard the rustle go through. Everybody's like, the Andor trailer's out. And then it starts with those distinctive, great drums. And you just kind of heard these tinny drums from everybody's phone at different points. And, at one point, I went into a bathroom, and from somewhere in the bathroom, I heard those drums. So somebody's in here watching the Andor trailer. Maybe multitasking. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Ken said, we'll do a larger thing. So the biggest picture thought is, everything that was suggested by that Vanity Fair article coming true, that we're seeing the perspective of Cassian and the people on his planet that we're going to get to know well, going through the immediate horrific horror of being oppressed by the Empire. They're fighting back because they have no choice. And then the great contrast of Mon Mothma, who could probably for her personal benefit ignore this, is clearly in deep danger. The fact that the brief shots of her were about that feeling of I am being watched, in that fear and that panic. I think seeing both the on the planet conflict, and then even with Mothma, a little bit more of the big fancy city espionage. The tension and terror of everybody is in danger always is really fresh and interesting to me in Star Wars, of that espionage kind of danger. And then final thing, I think that trailer, I think everything that every actor and writer has said is blatantly political. I think it's in a Star Wars story where it is appropriate to talk about the politics of it. It is an absolutely political story.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much, which it keeps in a lot of what the vibes of Rogue One, and it looks great, and it just has a great vibe to it. But yeah, you're right. It's I think it's going to be an important story. So we're going to dive in a little bit more. We just want to make sure we got Jen's take on that there. Other news to come out of this, and I always feel like I'm skipping over stuff. There's so much news, obviously, the last 4 days, but just we're kind of going to the bigger discussion points. We finally got the information, confirmation, more information, anything you want to say. We got the story on Star Wars Skeleton Crew. This is from John Watts and Chris Ford leading the charge. More people, of course, going to be involved behind the scenes with that one. This is the series starring 4 kids, but is not a kids show, as I think Filoni and others pointed out. And that great child actor Jude Law going to be the star, the only one confirmed so far. Right. This is going to be set during the Mando Ahsoka kind of timeline, because it was on this panel with kind of Filoni and Favreau up there mentioning it before Watts and Chris Ford came out. I don't know if that means it's part of this connected and the big event and all that kind of stuff, but it just seems like they're playing in that time period. Interesting timeline. This is 4 kids out in the galaxy trying to get home, as if they maybe lost their way, and they're trying to get back, and adventures ensue on Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Jennifer, I want to start with you here. We'd known something like this was coming, obviously. We had heard the code word grammar rodeo, but now we know a little bit more. What do you think?
Oh, when they showed that concept art, it was so reminiscent of E.T. for me.
Yeah.
I think it's by the thing that they're saying about it not being a kids show, even though it's starring 4 kids, immediately I think of like Stranger Things. So they're going to get a younger audience, certainly teenagers, young adults, and of course, older fans will enjoy it as well. But at first I thought that all they showed was a Jude Law headshot, and I'm like, that's it?
Yep.
Okay. But it's like Harry Potter in space. But no, that I love that concept art. I thought that gave a lot, and I did enhance to see who are the kids? Is there a Twi'lek in there? Like, is that a droid? What kind of kids are they? I don't think that they're just human kids. I'm thinking there might be some alien races there too.
Yeah, no, that was some Star Wars hotel bar conversation around what the makeup of the kids will be, and I keep saying, give me a Gungan. I want a Gungan.
Oh, yeah.
But that could be part of the fun there. Yeah, the Jude Law thing is interesting. He kind of looks. I think it was the headshot they chose. I was like, oh yeah, he looks like the villain in a kid's story.
Right.
This might be, and I would never have thought of that before with him. But it seems to work. Yeah, Joseph, this is one that I think we're pretty excited what this could be. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And I did see a clip of this online this morning of the discussion around this and the great sort of jokey clarification that it is a show starring kids. Star Wars is always about coming of age. It is always for kids up to a certain point, but it is not a kids show. And joking about like, yeah, it's more like Clone Wars. We cut people's heads off in Clone Wars. So who knows? Maybe at the end of the show, these 4 kids will cut Jude Law's head off. And it is very funny that this show is for kids. Here's a picture of Jude Law looking very serious.
Yes.
Right.
It's very fun. I love the confirmation that it is happening in the New Republic era. I got the vibe that maybe a character we know might show up, especially if they're kind of going from place to place, trying to get home. It made me conjure images of like we end up on this ship and we hit the jump to hyperspace, but we don't know where we're going.
Right.
And they just, who knows where they end up? Is Carson Teva going to be the one who gets them home? Who knows? That's the stuff that I'm really interested in finding out of. Like, is Jude Law the big villain? Is there one main conflict they're getting into, or are they jumping from place to place to place?
Yeah, it's exciting. Look, I'm already excited that this show will do what it probably needs to do, which is be for the younger generation when the show finally comes out and people around that area. Which means in a couple years, when they do the reboot of the sequel of the show or the animated version of it, continuing the story, and we'll be at a Star Wars Celebration 2026, and this generation of fans will be super excited the way the Rebels fans are now. Absolutely love that. Excited for. I'm familiar with John Watts. Even slightly worked on something with him a few years ago. He was a prominent commercial director before he moved into what he's doing now. And but I'm not familiar with the Spider-Man stuff. But Joseph, Jennifer, it just seems like that's a good mix. The Amblin meets Spider-Man meets younger Star Wars story. It just kind of makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. The Spider-Man movies that he's worked on are very much for all ages, but they are about that stepping into the world.
Yeah. We have to mention, and I don't sounded like it's a burden we have to mention, but this was the Lucasfilm Showcase panel, and that title was not a lie. This was about the Lucasfilm studio, not just Star Wars, and they, I will say, seamlessly, as best they could, worked in these 2 other big projects under the Lucasfilm banner that had people excited. And going into this panel, Joseph, we can just be honest, we kind of heard some stuff that this might have been happening, and you and I were wondering, like, how's it going to play? This is Star Wars Celebration. Will this curveball miss the strike zone here? And I think, I don't know about you, Joseph, we didn't follow up on our own conversations. I think they ended up doing a really good job working Willow and Indiana Jones 5 into the presentation.
It certainly seems that way. It certainly seems like people were excited about Willow. I didn't see as much of the panel, the way they integrated it. I did watch some clips this morning of how they kind of transitioned from John Williams into Harrison Ford, and I think that was a great way to celebrate. Like, yeah, it's these legacy people of Lucasfilm who have worked on both properties that just reminded you how connected they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And anytime you can bring out Harrison, it's a plus. Jen, your thoughts on Willow and Indy showing up there?
Yeah, I'm very happy to see Aaron Kellyman, who played Enfys Nest in Solo, being back in another Lucasfilm production. It's been a while since I've seen Willow, but when I saw that trailer and hearing the crowd where I was by the fan stage, people were going crazy. I mean, I've never heard, it was so loud. It was amazing, the excitement for Willow and for this story and a continuation of the original story. So I'm excited. It's a fantasy show, and I'm excited to get that to Disney Plus. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it's coming to November 30th, which is interesting because you're going to be coming off of the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power show, House of the Dragon. So fantasy fans might need a palate cleanser with something a little more overtly wondrous and whimsical and important as well. A lot of Willow fans out there. This one's going to be set 20 years after the original story. I'm excited that Joanne Whaley's coming back. Loved her as Sorcerer in the first one. And I recently did see the movie, and I'll say this. It's like it stands up in terms of the story and the world and the fantasy of it all. It looks a little dated at times, but this is one of those movies that maybe this movie had to walk so other movies could run. Ron Howard directing it, and I always say, the solo opening crawl comes from Willow. That's how the movie kind of begins, with a similar kind of crawl. So it has an important place in a lot of people's lives and has its own legacy. But I think this trailer, not to go into, we're not Willow Center here, but I really love the trailer. I pulled it. It looks great. It really looks fun. It looks like it's going to build on things, but also just make it all feel and look better. It's a modern modern version of this tale. So I'm all on board, and it was happy to see them kind of lean into it a little bit at this convention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to watch Willow. I've never seen Willow, as I've mentioned before. I saw an ad for it on television, and I briefly thought it was Star Wars. And then when it wasn't, I got mad at it. And I didn't go to the theater, never seen it, but I want to watch it. And I watched the trailer, and it was really great to just see, how much it is just high fantasy. Watching that trailer made me feel like the first time I cracked open books with dragons and sorcerers. It's so fantasy that I'm excited for that mood.
Yeah, great way to describe that. We got a little bit of Indy, just one promotional shot. John Williams played the Raiders March, and Harrison comes on out, mostly to pay tribute to John Williams on his occasion of his 90th birthday recently. But just kind of fun, exciting. Love me some Indiana Jones. No secret there. So June 30th, 2023? I sound like Harrison trying to say it too. I can't remember when it comes up. But that's exciting stuff, right, Jed? Just to have Harrison there.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. That panel was packed with so much. It's just it's incredible. And the poster, classic Indy. And I feel like that's what they're going for. Matt Mikkelsen told the Hollywood Reporter recently that this new movie is trying to capture the spirit of the original 2 Indiana Jones movies. So I thought that was interesting. But I can't wait. It's going to be a good one.
Can't wait indeed there. So any thoughts on this panel? Anything I've left off this panel, please, by all means. I can't remember, but went through as much as I could. Joseph, wrap up on this one.
I think the last thing for me is just that I'm very excited for Indiana Jones 5 because I really love Indiana Jones, been rewatching the movies and the Young Indiana Jones Adventures television show. And the fascinating thing to me about Indiana Jones in a way that it really ties to Star Wars is that pulp side of Star Wars, that side of that celebrates genre storytelling. And as Indy has marched through time, I think whatever in Indiana Jones 5 is the conflict or the MacGuffin is going to have something to say about the genre of pulp in that time period. And that is going to be a really interesting way into that story, and also helps us think about Star Wars of like, why do we get fascinated with certain ideas of stories? So I'm really excited for that.
Great stuff there. Moving on a little bit to a roundup of some of the news. The Bad Batch trailer dropped. The Bad Batch panel was Sunday morning, but Joseph and I were doing the Mando experience, so we did not see that wonderful panel there. A lot of cool things. This trailer is a little teaser. It looks wonderful. They showed a scene in the panel. A lot of people described it, said it was great fun, action-filled look at it. So we're going to take a deep dive more, as I said before. But Jennifer, you had a chance to spend some time with the Bad Batch trailer.
Yes, I did. I watched it a few times. I'm loving it. I love that Omega has grown up. She's even more badass, more confident in her abilities. She has a helmet.
Helmet, yes.
Yeah. And I like that the trailer, that it starts off by, Real Perlman's character, I can't remember her name at the moment, saying, you guys don't understand what's going on in the galaxy. The galaxy has changed, and you're going to basically have to pick a side. You know what I mean? I like that. And I like that they show the Emperor. We're getting right into it. Yeah. And these missions that they go on, I think are going to have maybe more, they're tying into what's going on with the rebellion, what's going on in the galaxy. And so I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Some big reveals. Commander Cody, but the headline was Gungi. A lot of people talking about Gungi, Joseph.
This whole convention was a victory for the specific Clone Wars arc, The Gathering.
It was
between Liang and Gungi. People have been worried for years what happened to Gungi in Order 66. So I was thrilled to see him when we watched the trailer on our phones, and thrilled to talk about it in more depth later. But I just totally agree with Jennifer. I love that this whole trailer is framed by Sid's dialogue that is continuing the story of the first season, but raising the stakes of what is the Bad Batch doing? Are we just surviving, or is it time to join the rebellion? Is it time to help start the rebellion? Probably not join it, but help start it.
Yes.
And that is the question of the season. And it seems like, if they're ending up in spaces where, Palpatine is there, they're going to have to make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people excited too. The Republic Commandos, the clone commandos being there, showing up, a lot of cool things. Yeah. And the trailer, I mean, has, the music has like a rave vibe. It's a different tone. Yeah. Omega's, helmet was one of the big talking points on Sunday around the convention. Did you see they gave her some armor? She looks great. So, yeah, a lot of fun. We'll do a deeper dive again here on ForceCenter later in the week. But excited. And the one thing to notice too, there's Bad Batch. We love Bad Batch here, and we love what it adds to the story. On Sunday, there was just a lot of people. I was even overhearing someone as Joseph and I were walking back to the convention floor. Some guys next to us just talking about, one guy's like, I gotta rep my Bad Batch. So I love that this show, which is always going to be smaller in terms of coverage, in terms of interest. I get it for a lot of different reasons. The live action stuff, the bigger characters, the Ahsokas, all that stuff. The Bad Batch has found a nice, good spot in the hearts of Star Wars fans, and I really love that. And I took that out of the panel more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the other big reveals was Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I put quotations around reveals because it seems like we've known about this one for a while based on different leaks, scoops, promotional material put out too early. So there was a lot of anticipation of what this was going to be. So Tales of Jedi, correct me if I'm wrong out there. I put the summary as best I could here. Coming fall 2022. We got 6 shorter episodes, 12 minutes or so. I think obviously going to be varied in length. They showed the first one there. 3 episodes are going to be covering Ahsoka at various points in her life, including when she's a little baby. And we got Janina Gavankar, of course, from Battlefront 2, is Iden Versio, great performer and actor. She's going to be playing Ahsoka's mom. And that's going to take us through different parts of Ahsoka's life. Again, younger Ahsoka, Padawan Ahsoka, then some stuff that might be from around. Maybe some people already worried in conflict with E.K. Johnston's Ahsoka book, but it could be around that time. And then 3 covering Dooku, various points in his life, including his relationship with his Padawan Qui-Gon, will be played by Liam Neeson's son. And then Liam Neeson will be back to voice some Qui-Gon as well. And this is Dave Filoni described these as tone poems. Hey, we love that phrase around here. And this was something that he, on a flight back from L.A. back home to the Bay Area, did one of his Dave doodles on a notepad and thought about this story and wrote out the first episode and kind of went to Carrie Beck and said, can you do something with this? And she said, if I can find the money, I can. And apparently they did find the money. The style will be a little bit more like the Clone Wars style of animation, just a little bit more modern version of it there. Jennifer, your thoughts on Tales of the Jedi?
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more. I feel like I did not dive into this one. I'm not sure what I was doing. But yeah, I did see E.K. Johnston kind of talking about it on Twitter, and she's really excited. So it makes me really excited. And it also makes me want to read Ahsoka because I have not read that novel. So that's on my list.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah, no, it's good. And I saw one tweet that was seemed like she was bracing for impact on the conversation that might be around that novel, which she already went through a round of. the retcon of the Siege of Mandalore, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a good book. I really enjoy it. So and she has a good handle on Ahsoka too, just as she does Padme. So love seeing that. Joseph, this is exciting stuff. You and I, we love some Dooku around here. Qui-Gon's always great, and Liam Neeson, who says, I only want to do movies if it's Star Wars. It doesn't seem to be the case. And a lot of thoughts, fun stuff here on Ahsoka. So Joseph, what do you think about Tales of the Jedi?
Hey, look, Jedi, tone poem, great. You had me at tone poem and Jedi. But I love, I think a lot of people had speculated that this was going to be just kind of all over the era, right? That hey, here's one about Avar Kriss. Hey, here's one about Luke. Here's one, here's Kit Fisto. I'm kind of excited that it is focusing on, Filoni's continuing mission to flesh out ideas, moments in characters that we know from the prequel era, from the Clone Wars era. It feels a little bit like I will finish what George and I started.
Yeah.
And to me, it's extremely exciting because if this season is successful, it would be great then to have a season 3 that is the High Republic, or a season 4 that is 6 short little tone poems about Luke and Ben Solo at different moments in their relationship. It feels like we should embrace this one because it could lead into, this is a great place to tell little stories, and to tell stories where maybe actors could commit to this scope of story. So I'm really, really excited about that. Always excited for more Ahsoka stuff. And the Dooku stuff I'm really excited for. We've got a couple of those audiobooks. But I think the fact that Filoni is always so interested in what is being passed on in the training lineage, from Yoda to Dooku to Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan to all of the Skywalkers, the fact that maybe he wants to do some tone poems about who learned what from who is really exciting.
Yeah, and a great point about what could come after this if this works. And I just love this kind of stuff. This is what I think the great grand purpose of Disney Plus can be for Star Wars fans or Marvel fans or any other subcategory there. But if just like a place to go and watch all different kinds of Star Wars programming, including the movies, including the TV shows, but also the behind the scenes stuff. You just want to put on a gentle drone footage flying over Hoth so you can relax while you do that's there. But also wonderful little short stories like this. And like Jennifer too, I didn't spend a ton of time diving into this. Like I said, we were handling something else, having the fun ForceCenter meetup during this. Been getting a lot of secondhand information. Alex and Molly pretty excited about it too. And Joseph I think it was Molly that told us at lunch yesterday that we got a Terrace Nube sighting in this one.
We do. I don't know how old, but I can't wait to see more of my beloved Terrace Nube. I hope he whips out the old lightsaber cane.
Yeah. So there you go. Jennifer, any final thoughts on Tales of the Jedi? What do you think? Actually, I'll ask you a direct question, Jennifer. What do you think about the family, Liam Neeson and family coming into this?
I love it. And didn't Ewan McGregor's daughter make an appearance in Kenobi as well?
Yeah, she's the one selling them drugs. Yep.
Yes. It's a family affair, Star Wars. That's why we love it.
Absolutely. Adding to that, everyone was someone's daughter here line, adding some weight to it there in episode 1 of Kenobi. Other big news was the second volume of Star Wars Visions is coming as well, spring 2023. This is Visions, so popular and so well done, and we loved it here at ForceCenter, but I think a lot of people out there have just a great level of passion for Star Wars Vision. So it is returning. A little slight change, though. It's including storytellers from Japan, Spain, India, Chile, South Africa, and more. They really wanted to open up to so many other fine folks out there and so many other cultures and so many other styles of animation to tell their Star Wars vision. So that's kind of exciting. A little bit of buzz as well on that one there Sunday. Yeah, Joseph?
Yeah. And I'm very, very, I think this was one of the ones that is super exciting, but it gets lost in the avalanche. And I think in terms of Disney Plus creating this great Star Wars buffet that you were talking about, Ken, I think it's a great place to just let's have fun with the images, with the ideas, with twists on them, and really free ourselves from, any sort of canon discussion. It's just the ideas, the feeling, the visuals as interpreted by all these different artists from around the world. That has a really great value, is being one of the many dishes on the buffet.
Many dishes indeed. Jennifer, your thoughts here on Star Wars Visions?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. That's exactly why I was thrilled to see that we're getting all sorts of storytellers coming to the Star Wars buffet, the Visions buffet. It's just going to make it even richer, and hearing different and seeing different people's perspectives from their cultural lens is going to be really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, and for me, the vision's the value of it is what you both are talking about, but just that, we don't have to worry this canon, this and that everyone get hung up with, and therefore you can just go so many wonderful places. And then again, the legacy of Star Wars and how it's affected so many people, all those things we see on display at Star Wars Celebration, to be able to see it in a creative project is great importance and great value to Star Wars. So that arrives in spring 2023. All right. We're getting closer to the end here. We had some comic news. We got a Yoda miniseries coming. Jody Houser going to be returning to that series along with, I think, Charles Soule kind of leading it. We had a lot of High Republic stuff, but not a lot of titles and things like that. It was not a lot of big books announced from Del Rey or anything like that. A little bit of a difference, but anything that I missed or you want to discuss, Joseph, Jennifer, what do you think? Jennifer, anything on your list there?
I can't think of anything that we didn't talk about, although I'm sure, things will come back and I'll say, oh yeah, I missed that. There just was so much happening. I think at one point I was on the floor surrounded by cosplayers. There were literally too many to choose from that I wanted to talk to. I was like, it was overwhelming in the best way, overwhelming with the panels, with the news, with the trailers and the concept art. Oh my gosh. It just was, it felt like we've been deprived of this Star Wars community for a few years in person. And now here you go. It's like a tidal wave of it, but it was wonderful. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph, anything left on the table there from you?
I think the only other news thing is, I think a big thing for a lot of people is a little bit more information about the Jedi Survivor video game with Cal Kestis.
Oh, that is see, I put together this rundown late last night after getting back. That might have been a mistake on my part, but yes.
No, I mean, we're already talking longer than we planned to because there's so much. I think the things that people have been talking about is, there's a time jump. It's set around the same time as Kenobi. There is an unconfirmed Grand Inquisitor-like figure. A lot of Grand Inquisitor questions floating around.
Yes.
I think it's really fun to see that a lot of the different kinds of storytellings in different mediums are kind of being bundled around similar time frames and similar issues. So it's really fun to see the announcement of this while we're sitting in some of these same issues is the Kenobi show. So my main reaction was that looks really good. I'm there for the video game and I need to start an actual piggy bank, a puffer piggy bank, a puffer piggy bank to buy a PlayStation 5 is my main reaction to Jedi Survivor right now.
Yeah, the trailer looked really good. I know Alex Damon, really excited. We had lunch with him and Alex and Brian Ward on Sunday before we left, and he was really excited. And I'm there. That trailer looks really good. I always make my jokes about the gameplay or how many animals we're going to kill, but honestly, I just really love what they're doing with the story and the characters there. So I was excited to see that as well. So Jen, I know you don't have a lot of time to sit down and play video games these days, but maybe this is the one.
Maybe this will be the one. I still want to get into the Star Wars new Lego game. So, so much to tackle.
So much.
In the best way, of course.
Yes, so much indeed. All right. I think that does it. I'm catching my breath. Man, Star Wars Celebration. My voice is cracking, but so many fun things there. So, like I said, later in the week, look for our deeper dives into the Andor and Bad Batch trailers. A lot to discuss there. A lot to get excited for there. The Obi-Wan Kenobi report as we go to episode 3, which means we're already halfway done through this series. You and McGregor's out there kind of, not, I wouldn't say dropping hints, but just kind of saying, yeah, I'd love to do more seasons. Episodes 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do them all. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some more there. All right. I think that is it for this week. We appreciate you all again who came up and spoke to us, took time out of your day to say hi to all three of us as we were out and about on the floor and walking to and fro Star Wars Celebration, including there's one fan who did see us leaving Bubba Gump Shrimp, because I'm not lying. Oh. I try to eat there every time, and I drug Joseph and Brian Warrington Bubba Gump Shrimp, and the fan stopped us, was like, whoa, wait, that's real. I'm going there because you said it, but you actually are there. My gosh. A lot of fun. All right. If you are wanting to find us on social media, share your own Star Wars Celebration memories, you can do so by finding us on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. Go to our Instagram and YouTube pages as well if you want to see some content there. We'll do a live Q&A soon as we branch out a little bit more to YouTube. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. Podcast available on Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and more. I want to thank all of you who listened to our Kenobi review and put it a little bit higher in the charts. We're not here to top the charts, but it's always a good thing, and it's fun, and it helps the show grow, so we really appreciate all you listens. And if you're relatively new because of the Kenobi Report, hello, welcome to ForceCenter. You get merch at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or my website, kennapzok.com. If you're local to SoCal and listening this week, big comedy show June 4th at the Troubadour. Ticket information on my website. Joseph, Jennifer, you're up now. Jennifer, what do you got? I am rusty. Man, I am rusty. I need a nap. Someone end this show.
We all need our naps. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Jennifer Landa, or on TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138. And next week, I look forward to finally being able to share with a secret mission I was on at Celebration. I will probably post the video this week on my socials, so if you want to see it first, you can follow me there.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Joseph.
Yay.
Yeah, so you can follow me on all the social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw. I really do have a bounty of beautiful, weird Star Wars action figures that I will be sharing over time. So if you're interested in that, you can follow me at any of those places. I make the videos on TikTok, but I share them on Twitter and Instagram as well. All my other comedy and life adventures with more stuff coming up on my website at josephscrimshaw.com. Ken, now is the time of the show where you end it. I'm done speaking. It's all you.
That's how it goes. All right. We will see you all next time. So for all of you that we've met, for all of the wonderful plush toys, action figures, and fun times had, this is and was and will be ForceCenter. See y'all next time, friends.